Okay, so far we have taken a look at three ways of supplying the data. One was inline data, second was member data, and third is class data. Now, in case we are designing a professional automation framework that our team can use, then the best design says that we should be extending XUnit in a way that we should be using the data attribute extensibility of the XUnit. Now what that suggests is that we should define our own attributes. So this is an attribute where we say this is static login test data. So this should be inheriting from an abstract class that is there in XUnit, which is data attribute. Now if we are inheriting from an abstract class, then we should be providing implementation of the abstract methods here. So we go here and we say implement abstract class. Okay, so this function essentially should be returning the IEnumerable object, and this should act as the data source of our test cases. Now here we'll fix up what we should show, but let's talk about what is the benefit of this extensibility. So this way we can have one static login test data which is giving the hard-coded data, and same way we can have multiple data sources. So I have defined one more class here which is Excel login test data attribute. So this can also inherit from data attribute which is there in xunit.sdk namespace. So we go and fix that. Yep. So this, if we go and implement, and this method will go and get us the Excel driven data. So what we can do is here we can define a constructor. So this is a public constructor we can give, and let's say public constructor, and we can take an Excel file path from here, and this we can keep it in a local private variable, private string Excel file path, and Excel file path we can set over here. Well, so here we need to write the logic that create list using Excel reader. So basically we can read the data from Excel, we can create a list, and we can return that. So now we have support for two login test attributes. One is Excel, one is static, and let's not stop here, let's define one more which we can say that it is XML login test data attribute. So this we can have a data source which is XML, and we can read from there. So let's go ahead and change the class name here, and let's change the constructor name also, and here we can say this is XML file path, and let's change this in all the three places. So these details we'll look into later, how do we read from Excel, or here it is XML. But let's see the benefit of this refactoring and this design. What exactly are we gaining using this? Now the gain that we are getting is here we can go and remove this, and we can put an attribute here. I can say Excel login test data, and I can say my test data is in login test data.xlsx. Now this particular test case is, it can run with the Excel sheet. Same way, if we want to run the test case from a CSV file, then we can have it changed that this is CSV, sorry, not CSV, XML is what we wrote. So XML login test data, and just one word change over here will help our test run from the data provided by the corresponding class. So we will see the static thing working end to end, because for Excel and for XML we need to have some more code written. So one thing we'll see in action, so that later on extensibility point is clear to us. So let's bring it here, and we know static login test attribute does not need anything from us, so we can get rid of this. So if we have to design static test data attribute, then ultimately we need to fill in the get data function, which we can fill from the the data member approach that we had taken earlier. Okay, so we had a data manager which was returning. So yep, this data manager already has this method where it is returning the static data. So let's get that, and let's put that implementation over here, so that we can examine that this strategy is working for us. So simple two steps: we define our own attributes by extending from the abstract class data attribute, which is part of XUnit. Then we override this function, and this is the function that will be used automatically by our test code. So we go to this, and let's kind of compile our solution, build our solution now. And now if we take a look at these test methods, then these are the ones which are running with data attribute. So this data is coming from the static the static login provider. Now in place of this, if we just go and let's go where it is. Yeah. So now in place of this, if we say this is Excel login test data, and we give a dummy path, and if we build the solution, now it will not show us any test generated with different combination. Reason is it is not having the proper thing being returned from the Excel. So once we fill in this code over here to read the Excel sheet and to fill in one table one list which we can return from here, then essentially we'll see all our test cases with data from Excel will also be displayed. Well, so this is the concept that okay, now we have sufficient information about designing a data-driven framework. So all these concepts that we have talked about till now, these are the concepts, this is the knowledge on top of which we will be building the concept of our data-driven framework. So wish you all the best for your automation framework design, data-driven framework design using all the concepts that we have talked about till now.